What's going on, everyone? My name is Triforce Addiction. Welcome back to another COD Mobile video. So 2 years is just around the corner for this game, and so much has changed over time. And you know, I just wanted to have a calm, chilling discussion of just kind of having like a summary of everything that happened throughout this entire, or I guess this entire round of seasons. So what an incredible experience I've had so far with this game within the 2-year mark. I know I joined into the game around season 6 of, year 1, but here I am now in season 7, going into season 8 of year 2, and so much has changed in terms of the channel, in terms of just the game in general, and my overall experience with it, and how much I've pretty much grown overall just playing this game. So starting off, I didn't really play this game too much because it didn't have proper controller support. Yes, you were able to connect your controller, but I mean, there was literally no aim assist, no way for you to really succeed. And then eventually, throughout time, I did come to test this game again to see how it works, to see if they actually changed anything with controllers, because I know a lot of people give me just a ton of shit for, using controller on a mobile game. But the thing is that, like, I've always played controller on, like Call of Duty games. I mean, that's literally how I play. It's the traditional way to play. I mean, it's not like I'm going into competitive scenes trying to say I'm the best fucking player in the world. Of course not. I'm leaving that to all the touch users who play the game as it should be. But of course, being a controller player is an optional thing. But I know a lot of people complain that controller is overpowered. But dude, hey, of course, you may not be able to play ranked, but the option is still there for you if you want to try it. I mean, it is pretty hard to get used to because this is a much more different game than on console. I mean, if you play Cold War, it's like night and day. So really the way I started playing this game, like I said, was around season 6. I did buy the battle pass, but I didn't really think I was going to take it seriously because at the time I did buy some previous battle passes like, season 5, season 4, and the way to grind them out was completely different and much more harder back then. But they made it more mainstream, meaning that you could just grind out the tiers just by playing the game. And that's something I really did like, so it did influence me to play a little bit more. And to be honest with you, I mean, Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated was around the corner around that time, and I was just, kind of playing something to get my mind off it, and Call of Duty Mobile was that, I guess, that outlet. Back then, I didn't really spend too much money because first, I wasn't making videos, and second, I didn't really know if this was going to be a long-term thing. I thought this was going to be something that, I'll play for a little bit, maybe for a few months, and then drop in, then pick it back up, like, later on as time went by. But, I started thinking, after Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated was released and all the hype was gone, and just pretty much over and done with, I decided, let's make some videos here because I didn't really have a lot of video ideas. And, at the time I was starting to really, really love the game because, there was a significant update back in Season 9 where the Gunsmith was added, and it pretty much overhauled the entire weapon base to where you could, customize all the weapons in the way you see fit. And I thought that was an awesome idea, and what made this even better was that there was an introduction to completionist camos, which at the time was only gold and platinum. And of course I decided, you know what, might as well just do a camo grind, and started enjoying it more. So I decided, hey, maybe make some YouTube videos off this stuff, and I honestly have to say it went pretty well. I mean, look at where I am now. If I went on the same route that I was going previously, if I was working on Nintendo stuff, I probably would not have like 3,500 subscribers right now. Even during that short time that I played, a lot of changes happened. I mean, season 7 started to pick up a lot more with features, and eventually season 9, that's where we got the Gunsmith. And I actually, like I said, I enjoyed it, and it was fun because, like, I kind of regret not playing Modern Warfare because I did kind of miss out on the Gunsmith. I stopped playing after Black Ops 4 because, I mean, let's be honest, like, Modern Warfare was a dumpster fire. Despite it looking good cosmetically, it just wasn't good gameplay wise because of just the skill-based matchmaking and all the camping. So I just wanted something simple, right? So I decided to come here in Call of Duty Mobile, and ever since then I pretty much stayed, and it's nice to have some sort of way to enjoy some form of a gunsmith. Of course, the Gunsmith wasn't really that perfect at the time, but I mean, it was still a work in progress. This game is always a work in progress because, this game's constantly getting updated every month. So there's always going to be something new that's brought to the table for this game for us to enjoy. So that's pretty much exactly what I did with the Gunsmith and with the camo grind in general. Because remember, before Season 11, or I guess Season 10, we did not have Damascus. We only had gold and platinum. So I decided, you know what, let's just grind everything out, get everything platinum. And at first I started with the assault rifles, mainly because that was just like, you know, it was like there was 13 guns at the time, right? It was like the Type 25 all the way to the DRH. And it was a sizable grind because at the time we did not have any sort of way to get XP cards other than just, you know, doing little mini challenges out there, or, you know, doing the daily login thing, you know? Eventually, I uploaded the video once I finished getting platinum on all my assault rifles, and I did get quite amount of views and did get me some subscribers. So I decided, you know what, hey, like my channel is gonna grow a lot more, you know, just playing this stuff out, and that's exactly what happened. So I enjoyed making, you know, Call of Duty mobile videos, and eventually, you guys all know, I started that new series called The Blueprints of Call of Duty Mobile, where I discuss every blueprint that was made, specifically the ones that, you know, I guess changed the geometry or changed the physical style of a certain weapon. I think my first video there was, I think, the Neon Lotus or the Neon Burst for the DLQ-33, and it was a very fun video, and a lot of you guys like the concept of me just describing everything, how all the attachments work in that specific build, you know, just giving you guys class setups. A lot of you guys enjoyed it, and ever since then I've been making those videos. I mean, I'm already over 100 videos on that specific series. So yeah, it's been quite a grind in terms of just, you know, editing out all these videos, showing you guys whether or not these blueprints are worth picking up, or, you know, even the legendary ones or the mythic ones, if they're worth, you know, spending $300 on or something like that. Around season 11 or season 12, I think that's where Damascus finally showed up in the game. Like at the time, I was kind of pissed off because they kind of promised us a completely different camo, but instead they kind of just, like at the last minute, decided to choose Damascus. And I won't lie, at the time it was a pretty good camo. It was pretty shiny, but I mean, it still looked kind of off. I mean, Damascus in this game has gone through so many changes. It's kind of unbelievable. I mean, the first change was, or I guess the first iteration of Damascus was alright. I mean, it was very shiny, but a little bit too dark, and then they updated it again in order for it to, I don't know, I think they did like some sort of little update to it. Like, it didn't really change it much, but then around season 13 they made it like extremely bad, where it just looked like it was just paint. And then like eventually a lot of us complained about it because, I mean, it did take some time to finish, right? So you would expect something good at the end of the day. So eventually they did end up updating it like around season 2 of this year. So yeah, Damascus has gone through some significant changes, and I never forgot to make showcases whenever it did get a change. And I started live streaming, you guys started enjoying it. I would get like a lot of views, especially when, you know, seasons started. I would grind out the newer weapons, get Damascus on them, and, you know, it was all fine and dandy and everything. I mean, yeah, it was quite the adventure, and I'm really happy that most of you guys, or if not all of you guys, have stuck through it until now. I mean, it's crazy. I'm really loving the support that you guys have been giving me on that. So, you know, as more time passed, season 13, they give us diamond camo, and that was just, I mean, honestly, it was the best animated camo in the game, and it was probably the most longest grind I think I've ever done, with the exception of maybe just Black Sky. But to be honest with you guys, Damascus is probably one of the more boring grinds to do, but at the end of the day, it's very worth it, because now you have a very diamond and gold weapon that you could just get to enjoy. If I recall, I was actually like probably one of the first people, if not the first person, to get diamond on every single weapon. I did make a complete showcase of all those weapons at the time, and I made an updated one around season 6 once I finished you know, the MX9 and whatever weapon was after that. I kind of forgot. I think it was probably the shorty, maybe. I think it's the shorty. I'm not really sure. I think that might have been season 5. I'm kind of drawing blanks here of what the weapon was for season 6. Or it was the Right Tech AMR. It was the Right Tech AMR, yeah. So I grinded throughout those, and, you know, eventually Ether Crystal came out, and I was kind of stressed out because at the time I thought zombies was going to be impossible because of how hard the hard mode was, but then it just turns out you just had to play the game a little bit, upgrade your stuff, and it was pretty much a breeze. You know, all this camo grind talk, man, it has been quite a long adventure, because, you know, this is probably the most I've ever grinded out of a Call of Duty game. And yeah, I mean, with Black Sky from Infinite Warfare, yeah, it was a very, very tough grind. But I mean, it's nothing compared to this one, because it just takes so much patience, so much time and effort, and so much, I guess, dedication, because you're stuck in one map for like a month just trying to get everything diamond. And I won't lie, it was a hellhole. and I'm just glad that all of you guys have stuck with me throughout this entire grind. Even now with new weapons and Ether Crystal, I mean, you guys did the same thing. You supported me through, and like, until the end. It's crazy, man. It's crazy how far we have come in this game. But you know, I mean, this is just the camo part of the video. I mean, I still have to talk about just like, you know, the balances and all that stuff, the issues that this game has had over time. And I mean, oh my god, where do I begin? So balance issues have been a huge part of this game for a very long time, even before I got here. I mean, I think at the time the S36 was the most powerful thing. I think also the Cordite and the Can-44, but I mean, those were just minor issues. I mean, at the time in Season 6, there was not a lot of, you know, things to complain about, because I mean, everything felt balanced. I felt like you could have dominated with almost every single weapon. And you know, like I said, there just wasn't a lot of things to worry about. And that wasn't until Season 9 where, you know, thermites and the Molotovs became a problem, where people were just spamming them all the time. I mean, even now, despite the nerfs to the Molotovs and even the thermites, there are still a lot of spammers out there, but it's not as bad as before because they're not as lethal as before. We had some pretty overpowered guns over the past months. I mean, in Season 12 we had the double Phoenix. In Season 1, I mean, we had, like, throughout, like, the refresh, you know, the season refresh, when we just started back at Season 1 and, you know, went on to, you know, current day, you know, we've had a lot of issues. I think the first few seasons we had to deal with the snipers, because if you guys remember, the snipers were extremely overpowered. I mean, they had incredible ADS speed. They were faster than SMGs, pistols, you name it. And it was kind of plaguing multiplayer to the point where Search and Destroy was unplayable if you didn't have a sniper. I mean, even other modes were kind of unplayable. I mean, I think overall in multiplayer, no matter if you played on ranked or if you played on just public matches, snipers were always an issue. And I did make a lot of videos complaining and saying, like, dude, this needs to be fixed. Like, when is this going to happen? It's been 14 seasons and we still haven't had a fix to the snipers. And eventually around maybe Season 3 or Season 4, they finally made those changes, and things got a whole lot better, I will say that. We also have some pretty minor issues when it came to meta. I mean, other than just, you know, the double Phoenix and the snipers. I mean, at the time we had the Man of War. The Man of War was pretty dominant for a few seasons. It wasn't really a huge issue for me specifically, and that's probably because I didn't play ranked, but I'm sure it was like a gigantic issue in ranked matches for everyone else that does play those. We also had a intermittent meta where it was like the ASM-10 for just like a small time, like maybe for a season or two, but again, it wasn't really much of a huge issue. I mean, even now the ASM-10 is still a pretty good gun. But yeah, other metas include, you know, the Bison. I think that was the lowest point of this game for me. And even now, it's still kind of a low point, because the moment the Bison got released, everything just went to shit again. The thing is that that weapon was released around Season 3. You know, it was like a Japanese theme, and, you know, that was the Battle Pass weapon, and there's like a special tier, 50 tier skin for that weapon itself. And I won't lie, that was probably one of the worst moments, or I guess one of the worst seasons in the game for me, because it was just extremely unenjoyable, because in every lobby, there was just a ton of, like, players just spamming that weapon. I mean, I felt like all the 60 other guns in this game were completely pointless because of that weapon. It had high mobility, a huge ammo capacity, which you could boost to 84 instead of 64. It could kill you like in 3 shots across the map. Of course, they nerfed the range just like a little bit, if you can call it a nerf. But yeah, I mean, even now, it's still plaguing competitive Call of Duty Mobile, as well as just public matches in general. We also had like a QXR meta for like a season, and that's pretty much it. It got nerfed straight to the ground. We did get a Fennec buff as well that did pretty much make this weapon overpowered again, but not in the Akimbo way, but like more in a single Fennec type of way. And even now, I mean, the Fennec is still pretty good overall. They made it into a very balanced SMG compared to before, where you could just like 4-tap people across the map. So I'm glad that they fixed that up, but the problem here is that, you know, the new guns that get released nowadays have just been extremely noob friendly. I think that's my biggest complaint throughout this entire year. The more guns they release, the easier they become. I'm sure a lot of you guys can agree with me on this. I mean, all the new weapons that have come out, AS Val, Fennec, Bison, MX9 have just been completely overpowered and extremely noob friendly. I think that's one of the biggest problems, like I said, because, you know, it kind of destroys the skill gap a little bit, because now it feels like anyone can play like a pro player, even though they can. I've lost a lot of matches because people were using meta weapons. It's crazy. I mean, you have people in level 20 just already using the MX9 because they have it locked under a very simple challenge, like get 15 headshots with the SMG. You know, the thing is that they just make everything too easy for people to use, and it kind of ruins it for everyone else who actually has some sort of skill, because they could just easily wreck you like in 2 shots in the head with an MX9. It's like that's not what should happen, you know. It's not fair for people that are experienced, like the ones that grinded for that weapon like 20 tiers to unlock those weapons, only to have someone that just got into the game a season later and unlock it like maybe within 1 game. It clearly isn't fair. You know, it's a very easy thing to say that, like, you know, if you get killed by someone with an overpowered weapon, all you just say is, you know, get better or something like that. But, you know, in most cases, especially with this game, like, it doesn't really matter how good you are, you're still gonna get pummeled if they are using an MX9 or even a Bison at that. I would say that's probably one of my biggest trigger points in this game for me right now, where I lose matches to people that don't deserve to win them in the first place, and they only win them because they had something cheesy. You know, that's what I mean. They need to make these weapons a little more challenging to use, because at this point right now, it's not fun to deal with MX9s every single game, you know. And sometimes I'm starting to get like a little adjusted to it, you know. I'm starting to, you know, kind of overpower with the QQ9. Like, I don't want to always stick to the MX9. There are rare instances where I do use it if I'm like extremely overwhelmed, if I'm like alone against like 5 other people, right? So yeah, I do use it if I have to. I don't, you know, have it as a necessary thing every single game. But what I'm saying about this is that, you know, guns being released in a very overpowered state, and, you know, staying like that a season later, where new players that get into this game could just unlock him by getting like 1 headshot or something, that should not be a thing. I think the challenges should be a little bit harder, or, you know, like get like maybe 2 challenges, but they only count for 1 game and you have to do it like 10 or 20 times. You know, stuff like that would be a little bit more fitting, because, you know, then it just kills the exploration, because they just get the weapon right away and they're not going to use anything else. So yeah, variety has been kind of lacking in this game for quite a while. Not to say that the other weapons have been, you know, bad. I mean, you know, I use the KN-44. I use mainly off-meta weapons for the most part. And, you know, each weapon are solid in their own way. I mean, they could still combat the MX9 at a certain extent. It's not like, you know, the moment you go against it, it's over for you. You know, there are chances for you to win games without meta, but for the most part, that's what you're going to be facing in this game constantly. So if you're a person that is thinking about playing this game, keep that in mind. If you're a person that hasn't really tried this game out yet, you're going to have to keep that in the back of your head, because trust me, some of these matches can be hell. Don't get me wrong, the developers who balance out the game, you know, they have been kind of, you know, paying attention a little bit more. They have been fixing stuff, you know, in shorts, you know, bursts of time, instead of just waiting a whole year to fix something. You know, their responsiveness has, you know, kind of like, I guess, skyrocketed a little bit. I will say that, you know, the thermites have been nerfed, snipers have been nerfed, you know, everything seems to be in order in some way, shape, or form. I will say that the Marksman Rifles do need a little bit of adjustments. You know, they need to be a little bit faster, specifically with the MK2 and the Kilo bolt action. The SPR is alright, but, you know, those 2, you know, Marksman Rifles do need some adjustments. So now let's talk about features that they've added over time. So, you know, recently, like around Season 2, they did add an ultra mode. So basically what that does is that it allows your game to run smoother depending on what device you have. If you have the OnePlus, or even if you have the Sony Xperia, or that phone that people use for competitive matches and stuff, they do run ultra mode. iPad Pros do the same as well, and I think the iPhone 13 is going to support that, but I think only for the Pro models. I'm not really sure about that. I had to read up more on that, because, you know, that's something that actually did pique my interest. But yeah, we have like smoother frames and everything. It's pretty nice. You know, you could always run high graphics if you want to, if you're not really in a competitive area. But yeah, I typically use the 120 frames. It's like the best option for me. Only downside is that you can't really up your graphics settings because I guess it wouldn't work that way. Like the highest you can go is like to medium, like from low to medium. That's all you can go when you're using this special settings. In terms of other features, I mean, what else did they really add? I mean, that's one of the biggest features that they did add. I would say that they added like these special, I guess, hit animations. You know, they have like somewhere like, you know, whenever you shoot someone, they turn like there's like a flare that hits them or something like that. It does have like different varieties of them. You know, some are flares, some are little sparkles. You know, it's a pretty cool feature, but at the same time, I don't really see it being like a huge deal. But you know, it looks a little bit. It gives it some creativity, I guess. It gives the game that type of luxury. I don't know. They also had this other feature that was released actually recently around Season 6, like this kind of like perception type of thing where you could see your teammates through walls and kind of get the idea of where, you know, the enemy team might spawn. I think that's a really cool feature. There was a feature like that in Black Ops 4. I forgot, I think it was called Team Link. It was like a red perk that allowed you to do pretty much the same thing that it does in this game. And yeah, that's a pretty cool feature for accessibility. I don't know, it's still, like to me it kind of feels like cheating in some ways, but I guess if everyone has access to it, it doesn't really matter. Because, you know, typically you usually would have to see your teammates through the map, but now that you could see them, like, you know, just by looking around, I mean, that's a pretty good advantage. I don't know if like all devices support that. I hope it does, because if not, then that's kind of unfair. There is one thing I will complain about, and this is on behalf of all BR players. I don't really think that there was a lot of changes that happened to Battle Royale. Maybe they did add some, you know, special like skills that you're able to use in game, but you know, they didn't really make too many adjustments in terms of that. I mean, they did add some ether crystals around the area, but that was just to advertise the Undead Siege mode, which that's something I do need to talk about as well. I mean, Undead Siege, you know, doing the ether crystal grind was fun, but I will say it's very repetitive. I mean, that's pretty much what Undead Siege is, you know, you're just on the same map, going through 5 rounds trying to get your guns done, and you pretty much don't have to touch it again unless you're grinding out leaderboards, but I don't really think that's going to be the case for a lot of people. But don't worry guys, I mean, we're getting the new Blackout map, so things are going to be a little bit more fresh than before. You know, hopefully the graphics look pretty amazing on that map. I'm hoping so, because I mean, it didn't, like, in my opinion, it didn't really look that good in Black Ops 4. Maybe they could do some good touches here. So yeah, that's something I'm gonna have to wait and see. So now let's discuss the skins overall. So I won't lie to you, the skins that get released in battle passes, you know, for these past seasons haven't really been the best. I mean, even now with the Hades, it looks just like they just basically turned it into a square. That's pretty much all they did. I will tell you that the tier 50 skins in most cases have not really been that great. I think the last good one was the MX9, the Stone Mason, or that's not what it's called, the Stone Serpent or something like that. I mean, it was an extremely good Aztec-like skin. And yeah, I just wish that they did a little bit more effort on these battle pass skins, because I mean, you know, we do grind to earn them, and you know, we do pay some good money to, you know, get there, even though it might be like a small amount. But bottom line is that, you know, if you grind, you should get a decent reward instead of just, you know, something so plain like the Judgment Day for the fucking AS Val. I think that was terrible. We also did get some other skins for the Mythic family. We did get the Peacekeeper Artifact, the AS Val Double-Edged, what other ones? The Rytech AMR, Nautilus. We got like a lot of them. Even the Holger Dark Frontier. We did get some pretty cool Mythic skins, and I can't wait to see how the M13 looks like. I did see like a preview picture, but I want to see how it looks like in game, of course. In terms of legendary skins, I mean, well, they're just legendary skins, you know. They have pretty similar effects, but of course there are some out there that kind of stand out above the rest. You know, the Bison, as much as I hate that weapon, you have to admit it was it had a very good legendary skin. Like, that's something I cannot deny. One weird thing I will complain about is that some legendaries did not match the theme of a season. For example, when the Rytech Mythic came out, it was like an underwater theme. And it came out in Season 6 where it was about zombies and, you know, I guess summer heat or whatever. And I felt like it had nothing to do with that season. I felt like it would have fit a little bit more with Season 5, because that was an underwater theme, you know. There were a lot of, like I said, legendaries that were released that just didn't correlate with that theme of the season. I know that's not really much of a big deal, but I mean, it would have made a lot more sense to release them during those times. I don't know, that's just me. Despite the fact that these weapons look really amazing in their legendary forms, like, you know, it's always bothered me that, you know, throughout this entire time that we've had completionist camos like, you know, gold, platinum, Damascus, diamond, ether, it's amazing that up until this point they never allowed us to put our completionist camos on them. I felt like if they'd done that at day one, you know, with Damascus and, you know, later on with diamond, I felt like people would be more inclined to buy legendary skins because they could put their completionist camos on them and they would just look like very pristine. And it is something that I did keep up with. I always monitored how every legendary skin I had looked like throughout the seasons, because the more time passed, the more completed those skins did look with completionist camos, and they always made me wonder whether or not they were actually working on them. But it turns out, you know, I didn't really break the news to you guys in a separate video, but it turns out this is kind of just all but confirmed. It feels like it's going to be an official thing. We're just waiting on that. Hopefully it is, because, you know, I mean, there's no excuse this time, because they look like all the legendary skins that were tested with those completionist camos look amazing. So, I mean, they look complete. So there's no reason not to release it this season. I'm hoping that they do, for the love of God. I've been waiting for that for a long time. And I think one of the videos I made about it, like back in season 12, I got like maybe like 20, that was my second most viewed video on this channel. It had like 23,000 views. It was crazy. Like, that was the most viewed video I had for COD Mobile. So let's hope that does happen. You know, let's hope everything in season 8 goes well for the 2nd anniversary. And, you know I've just made a huge long summary of like what happened throughout all these seasons, but I mean, it kind of brings everything into perspective, because we've been through so much in this game. I mean, we've gone through horrendous metas. We've done some pretty serious grinds. I mean, grinding diamond on everything was a fucking nightmare. You know, getting ether crystal as well was a nightmare. Like, oh my god. You know, we've seen some shit. I'll say that. We've seen some fucking shit. But despite it all, we can't really deny our love for this game. I mean, even after all this time, this game has grown so much over time, and it's just gonna keep growing further and further. And I just want to thank you guys so much for the endless support that you've given me throughout these 2 years. So yeah, anyways, that's pretty much going to conclude the video. Make sure to leave a like, make sure to subscribe for some more COD Mobile content, and I'll see you guys next time, man. Here's for a good year 3 of COD Mobile.